All right, so does everyone have the little quarter sheet, formula sheet? Anyone not? So we've done the first two formulas. We've done the arithmetic sequence, remember when you're adding. So remember, arithmetic is if you're adding a constant number every time. Yesterday we did geometric, which is when you're multiplying by a common factor to come up with your sequence. Today we're going to look at the sum formulas. Now what the sum formulas tell you is, let me look down at the example below, we'll come right back. They may ask you to find S sub 15, which means to add all 15 of the first 15 terms. So here's the first 4. If you wanted to find the sum, you'd have to list out all 15 terms, then add them all up in your calculator. So tedious. So we have a formula that can streamline that process for us. It'll find the sum of all of them without having to list them all, and then add them up. Okay, so let's decode the formula for today. For our arithmetic sequence, we can see this will be the sum of n terms. So if it were S sub 10, it would be the sum of the first 10 terms. S sub 20, sum of the first 20 terms. N is the term number that we're looking for. So whatever we plug in for n. What was A sub 1 again? First term. Now, A sub n is the nth term. Which is found using this formula. So what that means is to use the sum formula, you actually have to use this formula first. So if you want to find the sum of the first 10 terms, you have to first find out what the 10th term is using this formula, then you'll plug that in here. If you want to label this, this would be your nth term. So like the 10th term in the sequence, or the 12th term, whatever you're looking for. And then you divide that by 2. So if you choose arithmetic and you're looking for the sum, you actually have to do both formulas, which makes it just a little bit longer. Now in the geometric formula, if you look at our geometric sum formula, which is to, again, add up so many terms, this will still be the sum of n terms. We have our first term. And then remember, R is the number you're multiplying by every time, and it's called the common ratio. You may want to put parentheses around the denominator in case you put it all in your calculator. If you put it all in one line of work without like doing separate pieces, you do need to group that denominator. So you may want to add that in on your formula sheet just so you're safe. Now notice, this does not say A sub n in it anywhere, which means you don't have to find the nth term for this one. So if you choose geometric, you just have to plug into this formula, which makes it a shorter problem. So you don't have to do half the work. So the question is, how do I know which one it is? How do I know if it's arithmetic or geometric? Well, you just have to look and say, are they adding something every time, or are they multiplying? And then that will help you pick which column to choose. So looking at our directions, they want us to first determine whether this sequence is arithmetic or geometric. So again, that's adding or multiplying. Then they want us to find S15, which is the sum of the first 15 terms. If you really want to, you could take and list out all 15 terms. If you don't like the formula, you could just figure out what's going on here, continue the pattern to get 15 terms, and then you could add them all up. You'll get the same answer. It just might take you longer. So looking at our first example, do you think they're adding something every time or multiplying something every time? Jenna? They're adding. What are they adding? 12. Okay. What variable is that? Is that A sub 1? Is that D? Is that N? Is that R? Is that S? D. This is your common difference. It's what you're adding every time. We know we'll need a sub 1, which is the first term, which is 7. Now again, looking at this formula, we first have to do the original formula to find out what the 15th term is. So they want us to find s sub 15, so let's also jot down that n is 15. Just taking that number out of the subscript then. Okay, so we're going to start with this formula, the a sub n. And you could skip writing the formula if you want, but just for our first notes example, I'm just copying it down. And then we're going to substitute in. N is 15, so a sub 15 will get me 7 plus 12 times 15 minus 1. Again, I would probably just type that in my calculator so that I don't make an order of operations mistake. So 7 plus 12, parentheses, 15 minus 1. Your calculator does order of operations for you. It does PEMDAS. And I'll get 175. You might want to jot down that this is a sub n also. A sub n equals a sub 15, so we're looking for the 15th term. So now we'll go to our sum formula. So we'll just draw a little line here. And we're going to do our sum formula, because that's what they asked for in the directions, the sum. And we'll sum it. So n we already identified over here is 15. The first term we said is 7. Again, a sub n is what we just worked to find, of 175, so we plug that in for a sub n, a sub 15, which is 175, and then all divided by 2. If you want, you can type that whole thing in your calculator as is, or you can do order of operations piece by piece. We would do our parentheses first. We'll add those together to get 182. Then we would multiply those two things together to get 2,730 divided by 2. And then we would divide, so our final answer will be 1,365. That's the hardest problem, but you'll have to get.
Excuse interruption. Roberta Ramoni, please call, or please come to the front office. I'm sorry. Roberta Marodi, please report to the office.
All right, next one. Again, that's the longest problem because you have to do both formulas. The next one, which it looks like I might crash. Nope. Okay. Do we think that this is arithmetic or geometric? Are they adding a number, constant number every time, or are they multiplying? Julie?
Geometric.
Geometric, which is the easier one. Because you only have to go straight to the sum formula. So you don't have to, if you do the first formula, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you. You just don't need it. They want us to find, again, S15. So that tells me N is 15. A1, my first term, is 3. And what are they multiplying by every time? 2. Times 2, times 2, times 2. What variable is that? Called the common ratio. Number you multiply by every time. Jenna? It's our R variable right here. Right here. So D, common difference, what you're adding, R, what you're multiplying. And those are the only variables, A1, R, N, that's it. Plug right into your sum formula. I'll recopy it here. And so we'll have S sub 15 equals 3 times 1 minus, you might want to put parentheses around the R actually. Because if the R is negative, you have to group it with parentheses. So you might just want to always group it with parentheses to be safe. And then you can type that whole thing in your calculator. If you do, though, group the denominator so that you have everything grouped, and it'll get you your answer, which should be 98,301. But you also can do it piece by piece if you prefer. So that would get me 3 times 1 minus, I would first evaluate my exponent, which will give me something really big, 32,768. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. And so then that would get me over here, negative 32767 over negative 1. And I get negative 98,301 over negative 1. And our negatives cancel out. So 98,301. Your geometric sums will usually be much bigger than the arithmetic, because think about how the numbers get like drastically larger when you multiply. So then the further out you get, the bigger those numbers are, and then they're all getting added together at the end. Okay. The 2 on the back, I actually want you to try for closures, but I wanna, a lot of you will get A wrong. So I guess maybe I'll do A and then have you guys do B. And it's not because you don't know what you're doing, it's because you try to cancel 2 negatives into a positive when you're not allowed to. Because you just do it in your head. You think it's right, but it's wrong. So let's do A, and then I'll have you guys do B. What type do we have? Arithmetic or geometric? Geometric, good. We are multiplying by what? Negative 3. So let's list, geometric's the easy one. We're happy it's geometric. We only have to do one formula instead of 2. List out what we know. A1 is 4. What's the negative 3 again? R. Now be careful, last time n was 20, right? Or 15. This time they want us to find s sub 10, which is the sum of the first 10 terms. So that means n is 10. Always look into the problem. So n is 10. So now we're going to go straight to our sum for geometric column, and we'll sub in. Just copying down my formula. And then right here is where you guys will make your mistake. We have s sub 10, that's usually good. A sub 1 is 4, that's good. 1 minus, and this is right where you guys will start to do something you're not allowed to. So you will think, I'm plugging in a negative 3, so I have minus a negative, and you'll put plus 3. You cannot do that. Watch. This is negative 3 to the 10th power. What comes first, subtraction or exponents? Exponents. So I can tell you about half of you, if I wouldn't go over this problem, you would cancel the negatives and put 1 plus 3 to the 10, and then you'll get the wrong answer. It doesn't come out to do this. Okay, so I would highly suggest you put parentheses around r before you raise it to the power. Okay, and then all over 1 minus a negative 3. Now these two, since it's just subtraction, no exponents, those will become a plus. Right? But upstairs you can't do that because, again, we have to do the 10th power before we do the subtraction. Okay. And there goes my video, and oh no, the video is still recording. That's nice. But my flip chart is closed. Should I put in a work order for this? Yeah. See if you can finish the problem and hopefully get the right answer, and then start B while I'm rebooting. I don't understand how the recording can still be recording if it records through ActiveInspire, an ActiveInspire app. We'll see if the video actually works again. Anyone get an answer? You know this one, Kara?
Negative 59,035.
That's right. I got 48. Let's see. So we should have had 4 times 1 minus a negative 3 to the 10th all over 1 minus a negative 3. So that gets me 4 times 1 minus something really big, 59,049. 1 plus 3 is 4. So you actually can just divide out those 4s. So you don't have to multiply it by a big number. But we would take 1 minus 59049, which will get us negative 59048. I wonder if you did the positive thing then.
No, I actually, when I typed it in my calculator, I put parentheses around it and I put 1 minus a negative 3 in parentheses.
It should still work. Should. Okay, the only thing you didn't do is you didn't put that parentheses in there. Okay, so we can actually scroll on. Now, if you put one in now, it's going to type up for the efficiency, but if you press the insert button, you can do it without this. And there you go. She just forgot to close her parenthesis in the top. Which type of sequence did you pick for B? Arithmetic or geometric? Arithmetic, the long one. Do you want me to go over it? Yeah. So again, for arithmetic, you have to do both formulas because A sub n is found by doing the first formula. So we'll start out with that one. And sometimes it helps if you write the formula first so that you know what all variables you need to know. So we need to know what A sub 1 is, which is right here. What's D? What are they adding every time? 6. And again, this time we're still finding S sub 10, which tells me n is 10. So we sub in. Again, I probably would just punch that all in my calculator in one line of work, and we should get 39. And that's our A sub n. A sub 10, but also A sub n for our next one. So now we go to our actual sum formula. These are the advanced algebra problems. Advanced problems. Multi-step formulas. And we just sub in what we know. N is 10. A1 is negative 15. A sub n is 39, all over 2. So we should get 10 times 24 over 2, which will be 240 over 2, which will get us 120. So I think you only have 4 or 5 homework questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That are arithmetic or geometric, and then the 134 is actually just a geometric problem from before. So you can do that one too, but it's not as long as these ones. So you have about 7 minutes to get started on that. And then that's it for this unit. We'll be reviewing tomorrow and Monday with our quiz on Tuesday of next week.